Greetings, people of Earth. It is I, Rabbit, and today we have another unboxing video. Thumbnail time. Hey, how you going, everybody? So yeah, today we have a new unbagging video. As a new part has arrived for the printer. Just bear with me here. I just want to share this link for this stream in one or two places. There. Hopefully everything is working fine. It appears to be. Hope you're all well on this fine day. Well, it's a fine day here. Don't know about how it is in your neck of the woods. There we go. That's one link. So yeah, got this new part for the printer. I have, as you can see, I have not yet opened it. Saving that for you. So I have no idea what's in here or if it's what I've ordered. It'd be so funny if I opened it up and it was not what I ordered, but I'm pretty sure it is. It's got a good heft to it, and I've never really had any problems with ordering anything from Amazon. And my internet is going super slow today. I don't know why that is. So apologies if there are any issues with the stream. But yeah, link for the Discord below in the description if you want to come and join me and say g'day. So anyway, let's get the show on the road. Before we do, as many of you may be aware, or maybe you don't, I have a Ender 3 Max printer. This thing here is from Creality's Ender 3 range, sort of known to be as a hobbyist printer because of the amount of bloody work you've got to get into them to get decent prints. They work fairly good out of the box usually, but yeah, it can be a bit of a lottery sometimes and take a bit of work setting up. But if you like tinkering with things, it's a great printer to get because you will be doing a lot of tinkering. So, what have I got? We have the Creality Sprite Pro. I think they call it an extruder kit, although it's a lot more than that. Because it's not just an extruder. But we will hopefully see. Okay. There you have it. Nice shiny box. The packaging is usually fairly good on these things. But yeah, no, it's in focus now, it's not going to be. Sprite Extruder Pro Kit. Small Sprite, huge power. 42 by 23 by 56.6 millimeter, exquisite design. Perfect combination of extruder and hot end. Make more powerful functions, because that is what it is. It is not just an extruder. It is what's a direct drive hot end, I believe would be the correct term for it. Where, before we get into unboxing that, let's bring up the old 3 again. Now, I'll probably have to actually bring up the browser so that you can see my mouse. So, there we go. So, the Ender 3 is an FDM printer, which is basically filament. You know, little strings, different to a resin printer, obviously. Also known as a Bowden feed printer, I believe. And what that means is you put your spool of filament here on a filament holder. You feed the filament up into this thing here that's called the extruder. It's a motor that has an arm and a gear on top that pushes the filament through via a tube from here down into the hot end / printer carriage here. This carriage because it's on wheels and it rolls left and right. Now, what this does is it basically removes points of failure by putting it all in one. So this is both that hot end carriage, the hot end, the carriage, as well as the extruder is part of it. So you don't have a tube. It is literally why they call direct drives, because it pushes, the filament goes in through the top and it takes a much shorter path to your nozzle. And it means that there are less places where things, hopefully, there are less places where things can go wrong. Pros and cons, well, that's a pro. A con would be this is possibly heavier than the original carriage, which can produce its own issues, because once you've got more weight on a moving object, that can add more vibration to the frame. So I'm going to have to be spending, no doubt, a lot of time tuning this thing up. But yeah, it's also dual gear, which is what I've upgraded. If you've seen my other videos, my extruder is a red metal one that I bought off Amazon for like 10, 15 bucks. But it's a dual gear, because the original Ender 3 extruders have just a single gear on the motor, and then next to that is a freewheeling little silver wheel on a bearing with no teeth or anything on it. So you've only got on the filament on one, getting grabbed on one side, pushed up against this smooth wheel, and I have had nothing but issues with it, especially with filament snapping and coming out of it. The dual gear extruder has definitely been an improvement in that area. But yeah, hopefully this will be better than the Ender 3 one, the Max one, because the Max also has a different carriage design to most other Ender 3s. I don't know if we can see it close up here. Oops. Yeah, here. If you see the hot end kit, the Ender 3 Max is sort of famous for having dual cooling fans. You have two fans, one on either side of the hot end, and it blows air from both sides onto your nozzle and filament, which means you get more even cooling. And I'll give the Ender 3 Max that it is great at bridging for that reason, because when you're doing bridging, it's just basically printing in air, making a bridge across an empty space. You want to cool down your filament quick so it solidifies and stays solid, so it can suspend in the air until it connects to the other side. This, however, I believe only has the one. Well, we'll get rid of that. This one here, I believe, only has the one fan on it. And it costs like 1/5 of what my printer costs. Or more than 1/5. Because these are, yeah, about $109, $110 on Amazon. They came out about 2 years ago, I believe, as well. So it's not exactly a new product. Except that, yeah, obviously, it's brand spanking new. So, yeah, dual gear feeding, more stable printing, all metal design, high temperature printing. Yep, I believe it's a metal heat break in there, but it's like the bimetal heat break I put in, except this one's solid metal, not two parts, different metal. That the other one is. Yeah, I'm probably not explaining that well. Yeah, high temperature printing, this can actually get up to 300 degrees on the nozzle, so that will unlock maybe some extra different filament types down the road that require a higher temperature. I think my stock hot end only gets up to 260 degrees. And if you've done 3D printing, you know temperature really matters when it comes to filament, because even if it's off by a couple of degrees, like if it's too cool by like 2 degrees, it can really screw up your print or the filament. It won't be hot enough for the filament to be able to push through properly, and you could get clogs. As well as your print could be ruined. And if it's not obvious, I am smoking. Remember, kids, smoking is bad. Multi-module switching. Expand at will. Quick switch to air-cooled and water-cooled heat dissipation modules, because, yeah, apparently 3D printing these days have water cooling. So, good for the PC Master Race, I guess, out there that like their water cooling. Upgrade to stainless steel and titanium alloy throats as needed. So, with throats, I'm guessing that's like the heat break. And yeah, one of another pro for this thing is it's essentially modular compared to a typical Ender 3 or most 3D printer hot ends, in that it's held on by a couple of screws, has a single cable that goes into it, and you basically unplug the cable, undo some screws, take the whole hot end off, leave the carriage there, and if you have multiple of these, you can swap out one of these, swap this out with another one, that is a different configuration, maybe a different size nozzle at a higher temperature. Excuse me. Oh, oh, I do apologise for that. I thought I'd be fine with the teeth. I had them in my mouth all day yesterday. So we're back to toothless Trev. Wouldn't be bloody one of my videos these days if I didn't end up having to take the teeth out. But yeah, I did a live stream the other night for 3 hours on the other channel and had no issues with them. Anyway, let's continue. So yeah, very modular system if you can afford it, because yeah, obviously it's not going to be cheap to have multiples of these. And I don't know if you can buy them without the carriage, because that would probably save some money, because you don't need multiple carriages, you just need the direct drive extruder hot end part. Large torque, extrusion force up to 80 N. The gear with a 3.5 to 1 gear ratio perfectly matches with motor, which makes extrusion force up to 80 N depending on filaments. 80 N, is that newtons? Adjustable tension, professional playable. The tensioner allows you to fine tune the pressure extruded by the drive gears onto the filament according to your preferences, which helps to print more exquisite models. And it can also help with different filaments because, yeah, the amount of force you have on a filament, some need more force than others. Because you've got your hard filaments and then you've got soft ones. I think it's like TPU, it's called. It's like a rubber, really soft, squishy filament, and it can be a pain in the ass to load up and print on a traditional Bowden tube system, from what I've heard. So, yeah, again, increases the types of filament I should be able to print without hassle. But yeah, now normally you dual gear extrude, you have an arm and it moves the gears like this, and you put your filament in, and then you have a spring with the pressure, and you can adjust the tension. Now, too much tension, you might grind the filament away and have it snap in the gears. Not enough tension, and the filament won't push through. The gears will just spin on it. So yeah, but I find usually I haven't had any problems. You just put the arm on, the spring on. It usually goes for it. This will just be a bit unboxing. I won't be doing the setup of it yet because I have a print on at the moment. It still has about 6 hours to go on it. It's been going for about 10 hours. Part of my Mark V Halo helmet. And it's funny, I'd love to show you because this thing turned up because touch wood. The print, I've basically got the printer tuned really great at the moment. It's printing like a champ. It's like 2 years of effort and it's finally printing good, and the news hot end bloody shows up, doesn't it? Because yeah, with mine, I've mostly had issues with the extruder. The hot end, love the hot end. The hot end carriage, the hot end kit. That's what I think they call it. Let me sit up a bit straighter here instead of slouching in my chair. So, efficient heat just. All right, so let's get me little kitty scissors and get into this. I'm gonna stick it. But yeah, I will say this is probably one of the more pricier Creality products that I have purchased. So I'm hoping that's going to be worth it. But I've only heard good things about these, so I have no doubts it's going to be good. Another pro with this, one that I would like to show you, we could go back and look at one of my upgrade videos for the printer. Okay, so I think it's got magnets. There's magnets in the flap. As I was saying, if you go and look at one of my Ender 3 Max upgrade videos, you'll see the mess that the cables are. This should also hopefully fix that, because while it replaces all the cables on the board that go to the hot end carriage, they've all got individual plugs on either end. This puts one plug at one end and then all the other plugs. So once I plug this into the motherboard, I'll essentially just have a single cable coming out, which will be so much better for cable management too. So it'll also help neaten up the machine. But like I said, the dual cooling, excited to see about that. So yeah, open up the box, a couple of little magnets in there to keep it shut. So I'm guessing they've got some sort of metal or something. Well, we'll have to have metal in there. Magnet. So we have a book here that looks like a manual. And this is what you get in the kit itself. So there's the cable, and there is the extruder. Sorry about when it cuts out because of the background removal I've got going. But once I've got the background set up, that should be less of a problem. So that's what I was talking about, where you've got this one single cable here. That's got this plug here that goes to the hot end. And then you've got all the cables here that I have to wire up to, all the plugs there, should I say, or I have to wire them up to the motherboard, but it's just a single ribbon cable. Yeah, nice braiding on it. So that should be good. But yes, less tangles, less crap. It should be less like having to worry about cables dripping down and touching your print and stuff and zip tying things into place. We're doing cable chains. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so yeah, we've got the carriage in there. That's going to be, yeah, take the whole lot in, whack this on, and this is the bit where it goes back and front. Some hardware, yeah, there's a hot end there. That'll be the first silver hot end I've ever had. I'm going to say, guess that's a 0.4. That seems to be the standard these days. Yep, 0.4. Screws to mount it to the carriage. And, oh yes, the CR touch cable, or the BL touch, but it's probe cable, because, yeah, this is another good thing. Like when I installed my CR touch, I had to open up the motherboard, plug it in, feed the wire through to the CR touch. So the cable's like this long. With this hot end, as I'll show you, this is great because like everything sort of plugs in to the hot end kit. Because yeah, so instead of when I'm plugging in this little cable into the BL touch, I'm sorry, I'm all over the place here. If I plug one into this into BL CR touch, the other end goes actually into the hot end kit. I don't have to feed a cable all the way back to the main board. Well, that's how it's meant to work in theory. And that's all there is on that side. And here it is. One thing I will comment on the packaging, actually. Yeah. It's pretty solid foam in there. Creality, the cardboard's nice and thick. However, as you can see, that's just a cardboard lid. There's no foam. So, thankfully, yeah, it's turned up all right. But, yeah, you see how low that is. It'd be easy for something to come in on top or something with enough weight to crush that. There's no top protection except for that cardboard lid. But overall, the packaging is up to usual. You know, that's some sturdy foam in there. But yeah, there we go. There is the hot end. And that's how it should go. It'd be like, that's what it looked like from the front. And there you go, there's the extruder motor. The cool part's cooling fan. You see it's got a vent, blows on the nozzle. Comes with a nozzle and silicon sock installed. Has a little sticker that I'm guessing is, please insert it into the adapter. All right. Please insert it into the adapter plate before using. Okay. Apparently it wants me to plug something into the adapter plate, and I'm guessing that is the one on the back here, because there seems to be a few inputs and outputs there. That's what I mean, where everything basically plugs in on the hot end, plugs into the hot end, and then you feed the cable up through the top there. And that's got sort of semi-rigid, flexible rubber guide there. So once you plug it in, you feed the cable in through there to hold it into place. And there's where we feed the filament in, little hole at the top there. I'll have to look into what this thing is, if anything. Yeah, I've noticed that in the pictures. I was like, I wonder what that is. And here, there, if you see the two brass inserts, that is where the CR touch will go. It'll go under here. The thing is, though, on the Ender 3 Max, that's another thing that makes it different to most other Ender printers, is the probe is on that side, not that side. So, yeah, to make this work, I have to actually update the firmware on my printer as well. I'm just going to see if I could just get away with using the stock Creality firmware at the moment. But I will, as I always do, customize my own firmware for a bunch of reasons. I usually don't like their settings. It's a bit like using GeForce Experience. It's a good way to get the basics up and running for your game, sort of thing. Well, it's the same with Creality firmware. From my experience, it'll make your printer run, but the settings are never their best. And GeForce Experience is like that. It'll like settings that it knows that the game will run and look good, but quite often on my computer, it sets them up lower than my hardware can run. So I tend to tweak things myself. I mostly got GeForce Experience, so that but the other features, it's got like shadow play and stuff. Although these days I've mostly been using OBS. So, but yeah, it feels fairly good. Now it said dual cooling. There's a fan on the side there. A fan there. So technically it is dual cooling, but what I would imagine, what I call dual cooling, is you'd have another one of these fans on this side going that way. So they're both blowing on that point. But I think that fan vent's a lot closer than what the Ender 3 Max fan vent's. But man, it's pretty hefty, boy. Don't have any scales, so I can't weigh it. But yeah, it's definitely heavier than the parts on the carriage at the moment. But maybe the firmware can allows for that. But I'll give an example of like why I do custom firmware. Is I do auto bed leveling. That's what you got the probe for. You get your bed as level as you can manually. Then you tell the printer to do an auto bed level, and it moves around and probes. You can see that in other videos I've got. I think I've got a print that I did where I show the bed leveling. And that tells the printer, okay, here's where the dips and rises are. And then the print head can adjust up and down as it goes so that you get a nice flat print. But I've got a glass bed and it's as flat as I think, you get a 3D printer, or FDM bed anyway. However, by default, the stock firmware for the Ender 3 Max, I think it like probes 3 points, and it takes forever. It is so slow because it probes each point multiple times before it moves on to the next one, and it doesn't move that fast. However, I'm using custom firmware, so mine probes 5 points. By 5 points, it probes 25 points on the bed, so it can more accurate. Does the bed leveling in 90 seconds to 2 minutes, and I found it is still accurate. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how I calibrate this. Maybe I can get the touchscreen back on, because I haven't shown that off. But I bought a touchscreen a while back, and it worked for a while, but then it stopped working. So maybe I might look at having a go at doing that again. It's just, I've got to print out some error codes to show the developers of the firmware I was using, because the Ender 3 Max is one of the only Ender 3s that is not supported by Creality's touchscreen, and it's quite a good little thing when it's working. I had it working for about a week, and then it just stopped. It's affecting the extruder. It just won't extrude properly for some reason, and even if I reset it, it ends up doing it again. But contacted the developers when it happened, and they're like, "Oh, I need some code, blah blah blah." But I'd already unplugged it and put the old screen back on because I want to print. So yeah, it's got a knob here. To get back to this thing, got a knob here that you can manually feed the filament in with. I am guessing. That's what that thing is. That's the tension bar. So if okay. So when you pull that, you take the tension off so you can push your filament through. And I'm going to say that knob is actually probably for adjusting that tension, but maybe. But yeah, it feels quality. It does not feel cheaply made. Big chunky heatsink in there. The other good thing about these two is you can set these up as well, so you can basically have just hot ends, from what I've seen. I'll see how that goes in theory, but yeah, you have hot ends that you can sort of just pull out, put back in. And I've seen a whole range of them. I've seen this trippy looking cylinder ones that aren't the normal square. But yeah, everything is plugged in. There's some of the cables there. Always check this sort of stuff too, even if it's plugged in, because one of these cables was out a little bit. So always make sure everything is plugged in snugly when you're doing stuff like this. So yeah, that's that sticker to I was referring to. Manufacturers, will you stop printing things in such like tiny microscopic text? I've been getting a lot of stuff from these days when I buy stuff. Comes with these little manuals, and the writing is like less than a millimeter tall. There was one that was so bad. Because you've seen I wear glasses, but that's for my long range vision. If I wear them at this close, everything gets blurry, so I can see quite well normally. Or like this, it's a light blue with white text, which makes it harder to read. And depending on the light, I can read it a bit better there, but it's sideways. But yeah, I've had one manual for something. I can't remember what it was. It might have been my Android Wi-Fi mouse actually that I bought a while back. Where I actually had to put it on my scanner bed on the printer, the regular 2D printer. Excuse me. And had to scan it in so I could enlarge it so I could read the instructions. It's ridiculous. Who are you writing these manuals for? Fairies? But yeah, that cable I was showing you, that looks like you've got there's a plug. It's jammed in between the hot end and there we go. So yeah, I have to plug that into the board. Why that isn't plugged in during transport, I do not know. But I'm sure they have their reasons. I'm guessing something to do with motors driving and now I've got to remember how it went in the box. That way, no, that way, oh, that way. There we go. So yeah, that's all the parts that come with it. I'm keen. See how it goes. No, yeah, get better print results out of it. That'll be great. Like I said, my only concern is that being a single cooling fan, that's going to be to me a downgrade compared to the Ender 3 Maxes. Because that's, like I said, the even distribution of cooling. Where this one, when you only got a fan blowing in from one direction, you're only going to be cooling that one side. The other side's going to take a fraction longer to cool down. Where when you've got it coming in at the same time, it cools down evenly. But hey, people use these, so and they sell. 2 years later, they're still selling them. I'm pretty sure they probably also built these into their new line of printers, modern day ones. Because like the printer I use, Ender 3, even though I bought it, the Max, even though I bought it in, I think it was 2021, so it's going on 3 years that I've had it for, I think. But yeah, pretty sure it was 2021 that I got it towards the end of it, so it's not quite 3 years. The technology is more like 2012 or something. That's when these printers, I think, first came out. It was about 2012, and they've just improved upon them as time has gone on. And you'll see a lot of people with the dual cooling too that they will take the regular hot ends, pull them all apart, and print fan housings that'll blow air, like you have a piece that goes around and down, so they've got two nozzles instead of just the one. Where the Max, like I said, is crazy. It's the only 3D printer I can think of that I've seen that has two cooling fans by default, and to modify it yourself. But yeah, I'm super keen because for me, like I said, the main issue has been with printing is filament failure at the extruder. Like I was doing a print. After I did was doing my Max Paint upgrade video because I thought that was appropriate. Ender 3 Max Paint video game reference. Sort of managed to get the thumbnail looking a bit Max Painty too. That's what. Well, it was actually doing the thumbnail that made me come up with it because when I set the tone of the photo for it, it came out with that sort of off color that the Max Payne 3, I think it was, has the Ender 3 Max Ender 3 Max. Max Payne 3. Max Payne printer. Yeah, that's how my brain works. But yeah, they are getting long in the tooth now, but they are still a viable product. But there was, what was I saying about that other video? There was something in that I was goddamn talking about. This is what happens when I'm not organised. But it will do better when I do a proper review of this thing. Oops, because obviously this is just a slippery box. Almost went out of my hands there. So yeah, I will be doing a proper review of this. I'll probably film the installation too, because that should be fun. Because yeah, I've got to install it, then I've got to put the firmware in, do a test run, see how it goes, and then I might have to do some tweaking and stuff. Do the PID auto tune, because that's another thing. If you're not aware of getting into 3D printing, look up PID auto tuning. Maybe I could make a video about that. If you're interested, let me know in the comments. But yeah, PID auto tuning, it basically calibrates, runs the test, calibrates your hot end, so that your printer will more accurately keep the temperatures, at where they should be. It basically tests the upper and lower limits, I believe, and adjusts the voltages or something, so that your temperature during the print is more accurate. You do it with the bed and the hot end. But yeah, so far so good. It's looking good. Hopefully it lives up to the hype. But yeah, I don't know if I'll do it. I'll probably do it maybe I'll do it as a live stream, the upgrade. So yeah, if you're interested and you want to watch, do the old like and subscribe. Press the bell icon so that you get notifications when I bring out new content. So you can come along and comment first, like a 12-year-old. That's what I would do. But yeah, get these teeth back in, so I can finish with a smile. But yeah, look forward to more videos about the Halo armor, because yeah, I do have the helmet now underway. Just one piece at a time. Like what I'm printing at the moment is part of the upper skull cap that sits. It's like a helmet inside the helmet, and it sits between your head and the actual helmet itself. It keeps it more snug and in place. And I'm printing the front of that, and I'll show you that when I do my next video. But that as well takes about 20 hours for that one piece. So this is a slow process. And anything that can speed it up, like I'm printing at the moment 70 millimeters per second. At its stock 50 millimeters a second, it was going to take about 21 hours. But I pushed it up to 70 millimeters per second. It's handling that fine. But it got the print time down to like 17 hours. A few other tweaks. And it's going to get hotter and faster. So you might have to do some speed tests, calibration prints and stuff too. Might do some videos on that showing you how I calibrate my printer and set it up. Because there are some videos out there by pros, and I've got to say the bed leveling videos, I think, leaves a lot to be desired. It's all this paper stuff where, I'm going to tell you now, if you want to get into 3D printing, get a set of feeler gauges. Ones that go down to 0.1 millimeter. But yeah, I'll do a video showing about that. I think I did in my previous video. I showed briefly how I do my probe offset. But I might do a video, because once I've done this, obviously moving the printer around, I'm going to have to re-level the bed, re-tram everything, I think they call it. Make sure everything's square. I'll have to readjust the offset for the Z Pro, because yeah, basically the printer's going to get reset. So all the settings are going to have to be reset up, do my E steps. And hopefully it'll be quick and easy. But who are we kidding? It's me. It's going to be slow and painful. If it can go wrong, it will. Oh, manual. We've got to do that. Yeah, it just shows parts that are listed in the box, or lists parts that are in the box. And as you expect, it just tells you basically how to attach it to the carriage and how to install it, the cables. Oh, leveling tip, yeah, it has a leveling tip. That's the biggest thing about 3D printing, getting the squish between layers right, getting that nozzle just the right height off the bed. But yeah, just enough squish for the filament to stick together, but not too much squish that it distorts the print. Or not enough squish that your layers delaminate because they're not stuck together properly, so everything just splits. Yeah, that's the Creality Sprite Pro. I am Rabid. If you made it this far, thank you very much for watching. And yeah, stay tuned for the next video where it will hopefully be, well, possibly be tonight, where I will pull the printer out and out of its housing. And yeah, live stream me putting it together, doing this upgrade. Depending on how much of a pain in the ass or not that's going to be, I will say. Because that's probably one thing I will have to do before I do this, is I'm going to have to work out how to feed the filament to it, because I have that, most people will set up a spool holder on the top of their printer frame. And let's bring up the Edge browser again briefly. So most people, as you can see, the Ender 3 Max, that's a spool holder there on the side. Here. So let me circle with my mouse. A lot of people would put a spool mount, and some of the Ender 3s come with their spool mount up here on the top of the frame. I worry about putting that weight and having it bending the frame, because the spool sits on one side and it's 1 kilo. So you got all that down weight, or downforce on the back of it. And worry about that over time that would twist that frame, because it's not exactly thick. Not thick like these extrusions here. However, I have my the Comgrow filament dryer box that I reviewed that is also a spool holder, and it makes the spooling so much better. It doesn't have back jerk, or where, you know, when you use the normal spool holder, when the filament goes taut, when the printer slackens off on the filament or retracts, yeah, eventually you get the spool just sort of rock and make a bit of a noise. But that doesn't happen in the box. So I've got to, because the direct drive, you've got to have the filament coming from the top. I've got to make like a filament guide or something I can put here, because yeah, I feed my filament in through the side of the enclosure and up and down through there, because that's also another problem, is if I had the spool on top of the frame, I wouldn't be able to close my enclosure over the top of it, because the height of the Max. Unfortunately, they don't make any enclosure you can buy that's specifically for the Max. I mean, even the base footprint barely fits in there. It's a tight fit. It fits, but it's a tight fit. I was working on a spool holder for the top a while back, where I've got a short one, so the spool hangs down below here at the edge of it a bit, so the curve would be there, because you've also got to allow for the hot end to come up and not hit it. But we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just use the dryer box as a dryer box for now. And yeah, print the spool holder to go up there, and just, yeah, I'll print this. Just have to feed the filament through the top for the time being until I can design something better, or make a better system. But all right, now we're definitely going to end it here. Again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you on the next